What is up, everyone? Welcome, episode 31 of Meet the Press. I know I'm exhausted. I know Jared's exhausted, but the game must go on. My friend, how are you today?
Like you said, I am exhausted. It's
Yeah.
we're in the heart of football season, starting to get
Woo.
into that crossover. Had some basketball media availabilities. I know you've been at baseball all day today.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just it never ends, man. Tired.
No, it's I was talking to somebody in my office the other day because it's really nice working in a place where there's a Starbucks like a less than a 5 minute walk away in the student center. And we were over there and like we were going over there and we were talking about what it's like working in athletics and working with these athletes and stuff like that. And on the surface, and don't get me wrong, I'm not discrediting it. It's freaking awesome and it's a cool as hell job. But on the surface, I feel like it looks cooler than the work is worth, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
At times, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like I feel like
it,
when people say like, "Oh, I work in college athletics," like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." Like that's awesome. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's really great. It's super like hard work and exhausting, but yes, it is fun."
right. Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day about like traveling for work, and they were like, "I kind of wish I did something where I got to travel for work." And I was like, "Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's not always, positive stuff." They're like, "What? How can it not be?" And I was like, "You ever
Right.
spend a Thanksgiving in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, watching the Grinch alone at a Buffalo Wild Wings bar?" I was like,
Right?
"That's how." They're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I can see that."
Like and I know one of the other SIDs with me, him and I have talked about this in like and again, I like the travel aspect. That's something I'm looking forward to. Um, but I've been a sports writer long enough. I've spent a lot of nights alone in hotels. I have drank a lot of nights at hotel bars by myself. Um,
Oh man, hotel bars are expensive though.
I know, aren't they?
So expensive.
Um, and but I'm still looking forward to that aspect of it. Just because, and I don't know if we've talked about this before. I like the whenever I was up at media day for the Missouri Valley for women's basketball, I guess 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago now. I liked being in the hotel lobby and seeing other coaches, seeing other SIDs, seeing players mingle about. I liked that. I like that you're all there for one thing. You know why everyone is there. I just like that. I like that kind of energy.
See, I don't get that as much because I do most of my travel, except for one time, alone or with just, one or two other media people.
Right,
So like
right.
like I'm going to San Antonio this weekend. And
Oh,
you
nice.
talking about the hotel bar reminds me that I need to book a hotel.
Yes.
But I'll probably be alone for most of it. And I've gotten used to like the traveling alone part, and it's kind of nice because I can do stuff when I
You
want and not
you
have to
can
worry
do
about
what you
anyone
want.
else. I don't have to worry
Right.
about being late because of somebody else.
Right.
But it's also I know people in town a lot of these trips too, so I'll meet up with people and you know grab a drink, grab dinner,
Yeah.
those types of things. So San Antonio
Uh,
this weekend. You ever been?
I have. I was super young. I was probably like 7th or 8th grade. Um, I went to the Alamo.
Do you remember it?
We've discussed this because I made a joke about it and you didn't pick up on it. Because I said something about have you ever been to the basement in the Alamo and you didn't respond and you had no reaction.
Yeah, I don't remember
Okay. Maybe it was another podcast. Maybe it was
that.
another podcast I did.
I'll have to go back and listen to all the episodes
It,
on Apple
it's from
Podcast and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts.
it's from Pee Wee Herman. Have you ever watched like Pee Wee Herman?
Oh no, no. Oh,
Oh,
I
okay.
remember this conversation now. Yeah,
Yeah. It's from the movie. Whenever he loses his bike gets stolen, and they tell him that it's in the basement of the Alamo, and
yeah.
then he gets here, and they're like, There is no basement in the Alamo. But you're going to San Antonio. That's awesome. What's
Yeah, football.
who,
Western plays UTSA, defending CUSA champs.
the
Be a tough game.
Roadrunners,
Roadrunners.
right?
Roadrunners are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. Should be a tough game. Should be a good game. I hope. Could be a shootout.
Was it? I know I sent you this stat like before the season. Was it UT San Antonio that
No,
it said?
no.
Is that who it was?
It was UTEP, El
It was
Paso.
UTEP. It was UTEP.
UTEP,
Okay, okay.
and they
Had
they
never won
won
a.
in they won in Charlotte this weekend. First time
Oh,
ever
they
winning.
did.
Yeah, they've been playing football since like 1916. They picked up their first win ever in the Eastern Time Zone.
That's insane. That's like
I think they were
I
like
know we're
26-1
I know we're going to
previously.
talk about like the Cardinal game today and Molina Pujol, all that, but I saw a Molina stat the other day, and it was in his entire career there were only I think 24 or 14. I'm misremembering now. 24, I think, games that he played that did not have playoff implications. So, like 24 games in his 19-year career were absolutely meaningless.
Yeah,
So, like a 3-week stretch in his entire career was meaning, and I think that's just crazy.
and it's
But
crazy
yeah,
because
man,
I mean, you look at the Reds' season, and they've probably had a longer stretch just this year alone of meaningful
yeah,
baseball.
man, it must suck to be
That
a
that's
Reds
definitely
fan.
a hyperbole, but had to take a chance
Yeah,
with the Reds fans that listen.
it still has to suck to be a Reds fan.
Oh yeah,
Um,
but
yeah, so
going
you're
back
going to
to
San Antonio. Safe
yeah,
travels, man. I forgot you were doing that this weekend.
yeah. No, I'll be back for the podcast next week. I think I got a nice 6 a.m. flight back on Sunday morning
Woo!
because that was the only option at that price, and I'm a company man. I can be
That's
cheap. I've spent nights in airports before, a little bit
yeah.
sketchy hotels,
Oh
but
man, we stayed in okay, now just to transition to the St. Louis thing. So I stayed I went up with my parents yesterday to St. Louis, stayed in a hotel like 20 minutes from the city. And so the first room we went to was on the 3rd floor and the key wouldn't work. And like they went back, got more keys, came back, didn't work also. So they ended up putting us on the 1st floor in literally the first room whenever you come in from that outer door, like on the ground level. And like and number one, there was a door stopper in the door. I'm like, we're gonna get murdered tonight. I'm like, this is it. Like somebody's gonna pop in this door, in and out, easy. And yeah, it was super sketch talking about sketchy hotels. But yeah, that made me think of that, considering it was last night.
so you went to the Cardinals game today.
I went to the Cardinal game today.
Yeah, they honored Yadier Molina. They honored Albert Pujols, and my
Yes.
text to you was, "Did you cry?"
Did I cry? Yeah. I didn't cry. Uh
You just had some allergies, got something in your eye.
yeah, it was super misty. Um I've been a Cardinal fan most of my life. All of my life. There was a brief period where I was actually a Reds fan because I like Edgar Renteria and I followed Edgar Renteria. But the majority of my life I have been a Cardinals fan, and of my 31 years of life, 19 years of those, Yadier Molina was there. The first 10 years of Albert Pujols' career, he was there. And I don't know, it's super weird because being in this business, you don't want to get attached. Like, like you don't want to get attached to players. You don't want to get attached because the name of the game, literally, you're a fan of a college athlete, they could transfer and you could never see them again. So like you don't want to get attached to that kind of thing. But I feel like whenever it comes to those teams that you follow that you like, it's super rare for someone to be there for 19, 20 years. I mean, you grew up a Steelers fan. Big Ben was there a hell of a long time. Heinz
Yeah,
Ward was there a super long time. That's not something that I feel like is super normal in sports today. Um and I think that's part of the reason why it was so cool for me. I've seen some great moments with Yachty and Albert, um, like together, and so I guess just like see that end. What was kind of sad, kind of I don't know, but at the same time, I don't want to sound like an asshole because my favorite team had maybe the best hitter of this entire generation and maybe the best defensive catcher of this generation of all time. So like I feel like I'm super spoiled, and by me complaining that they're gone, they're not going to be there anymore. It's like, oh, you've won 3 World Series in the last 15 years, whatever, or 2, I guess. And I don't know. I, yes, it was super sad, super emotional today,
No,
but
I
it was
get what
fun.
you mean too. Because like when you grow up with those guys, it's different. Because you're still young, you still have hope, you still have, you know,
Yeah,
belief in good people. And then you get old and you lose all that.
them's
Yeah.
them's the days, man.
but but I know what you mean. I was looking back on those Facebook memories the other day, and I had one. I think it was 8 years ago. This was within this past week. I was at Fenway Park for Derek Jeter's last game, and he was my favorite player
Oh,
growing up. I spent a pretty penny on those tickets in the outfield. Watch him, leg out an infield single for his final hit,
mhm.
and it was one of those games, But
Yeah,
you
it's
don't get those guys off.
no, you really don't. Like, and I know I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Shout out Bills Mafia. Beat Ravens today in Baltimore. Hell of a win. Like, I feel like Josh Allen is going to be like that for me. Like, Josh Allen is going to be a Bill maybe his entire gosh, I hope his entire career. Um, but yeah, it was just super cool. They had like a nice ceremony before. I saw a lot of my friends like throughout the stadium, like just that were there. So that was cool. Um, yeah, it was a cool day. They lost. Pujols homer though. That was awesome. So now he's tied with the Babe for second all time in RBIs.
That's cool. That's pretty good
Yeah,
company.
yeah,
But
but yeah,
you talking about Josh Allen
Josh Allen.
kind
Yes,
kind of brings me to football today. They picked up a win, right? The Bills.
hell's yeah, 3-1
Was it a walk off field goal? Is that how they won?
walk off field goal. Shut out the Ravens in the second half. The Bills have allowed 7 points in second halves this year. 7 points.
That's tough. Ravens are tough. AFC North, a little rocky to start the year.
Yeah,
But I mean, you got to pay Lamar Jackson. What did he finish with? You know? Do you,
I
do you
mean
think they've got a 20 of 29, 144 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions though?
2 picks. Yep.
Ran for 73 yards on 11 carries, but
Josh Allen
he,
ran
he's
for
he's
what,
been
70-1? I think 70-1.
70-1 on 11
Yeah.
carries.
Yeah.
So, two elite quarterbacks going back and forth. The
Yeah,
one
that
game
was
I
fun.
was
That's what I wish I could have seen. Just because of the quarterback play. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one I was locked into today was Patriots Packers because Mac Jones was out, and then early in the game, Brian Hoyer went out. I believe head injury, concussion
Head injury. I saw
protocols.
that.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
and Bailey Zappi, former Western Kentucky quarterback, who I traveled around, watched, talked to multiple times a week
Hmm.
last year, goes in, gets his first NFL action. Uh, I just saw he was the first player to ever make his NFL debut as a visitor at Lambeau Field and throw a TD pass in that game. Lambeau's been open since '57, so that's solid.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Now they did end up losing that game 27-24 in overtime.
But he still had a pretty good stat line
Yeah,
for that game.
yeah, 10 of 15, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. The thing that I didn't like about that, and you've known me long enough that I'm not like usually super critical about play calling. I'm a
Right.
I'm a believer that you call a play and it works or it doesn't, and you look like you're good or bad either way. But they
Of
were
the two of us, I lean more that way. Yeah.
yeah, I'm more with the coaches, but
Level headed.
I yeah, honestly, I just I think we talked about it last week when we were talking about NFL stuff, and I was talking about the Steelers because I grew up a Steelers fan, and I was like, I don't see why you draft Kenny Pickett as the most NFL ready guy, and that's your reasoning, and then don't play him. And that was probably the most critical I've been on the podcast. But this
Yeah.
week, it seems like they were being conservative. Zappy probably nervous, understandably so. And
Right.
but I mean, you don't put him in a good position really, running the ball every time, first and second down, getting third and medium, still third and long. So it's an obvious passing down against the Packers. Good team. You're playing them at Lambeau, so everybody knows it's a pass coming. You know, I just don't understand that. I don't understand in
I feel like at the
overtime.
same time, though, he is the third QB on the depth chart. So maybe they're in like, let's keep him alive mode.
But let
So
him
pretty
let him.
much the opposite of what the Dolphins did. The opposite of the Miami Dolphins is what the Patriots did.
Yeah, but I mean, I also don't really understand. You get it to the Green Bay 46 in overtime, 4th and 5, and you punt it back to Aaron Rodgers with just under 7 minutes remaining. Like, at that point, you're basically playing for a loss because Aaron Rodgers is going to go win that game. He's going to get you in field
Yeah.
goal range at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't get that, but yeah, no. Going back to Thursday night, that was not a good scene with Tua.
I mean, literally on Sunday against the Bills, he had his quote unquote back injury where he twitched as he was coming up off the field, walking away, and went down again, and comes back 4 days later, gets power bombed on his head, has Booger McFarland fingers, and Booger McFarland, he's the dude that does like the NFL. His fingers are not good. And then he watches a movie coming back, which is a weird thing that has now like Moviegate, I feel like is a thing. I feel bad because like everyone's super high on the Dolphins, but we're forgetting that they won 8 in a row last year to end the season. They had like an 8-game losing streak and an 8-game winning streak last season, I think.
Then they fired their coach, didn't they?
Then they fired their freaking coach, Brian Flores. I like Brian Flores.
I did too. He's a great coach.
He's a good coach. He's a super good coach.
I don't know what they're doing.
Now they got that one guy, that weird fella.
McDaniel? Head coach?
Is that his name?
Head coach, yeah.
Mike McDaniel. Is that his name?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's who Tua sat next to on the flight back, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's right. When
Yeah.
he watched it, whenever
movie.
he watched it a movie.
You know what?
Gosh.
You know what I bet they watched? If I was to guess, I'd say Good Will Hunting.
You still haven't watched it.
No. But yeah, no.
I told somebody that today. I told somebody I have a podcast with a dude who went to college in Boston. They haven't watched Good Will Hunting, and they're like, "What's wrong with him?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know." Yeah, I just feel bad for Tua.
Yeah.
But they did fire that one guy apparently.
Yeah, that's a little late.
Yeah,
Well,
I do feel.
The thing I didn't get to is everybody was mad that they released Tua from the hospital after the game. And they were like, how can the NFL do this? It was like the UC Medical Center or something, University of Cincinnati. And it's like, that's a good hospital. It's not anything to do with the NFL there. And I mean, you can be released from the hospital with a concussion and still have a concussion. Both things can be true.
My dad got shot in the head, and he never stayed in the hospital. Yeah. You
told me. Because that was the first time we met. That was the story that came up.
Holy crap, that was the first time we met. Yeah.
We were down in Russellville.
Yeah, we were. That's right.
Because you were like, "Oh, my dad was in Maine when he got shot in the head."
Well, I mean, he was in South Dakota, but
but with someone from Maine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who happened to be someone from my hometown who.
Yeah.
I knew who it was.
Because everybody from Maine knows each other.
Shit. Yeah, I mean that's the joke, but yeah, we did. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember numerous times in college. I would take the bus back from Boston to Maine, either Waterville or Bangor, and there would be someone on the bus that I either knew or talked to, and we knew the same people every time. Shoot, even the last time I went home, I was in the Philadelphia airport getting ready to get on a plane, and then out of nowhere comes this kid that I played baseball with since was like 5. You just
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a random one. There were a bunch today at the game. Like there was a friend of mine that he was in like the next section over from ours today.
really.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
that's
went
not
to so this is a super weird one. So I went to a game once. It was a soccer match in St. Louis. It was Real Madrid against Inter Milan. And like before the game, they had like this fan area set up outside, and I'm going over there and I'm hanging out and stuff. And I see one of my buddies and another guy I know that is with him, and they're also going to the game. And so we start talking and stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, where are your seats?" And he said, "Oh, I'm in section whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, that's funny. I'm in that section." And he's like, "Oh, okay. What row are you in?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm in row whatever." And he goes, I'm like, "What seat are you?" And he told me they're in like 7 and 8. Like we were like 5 and 6. We were literally right next to them.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was super weird. Yeah.
Did you watch any college football on Saturday?
I watched SIU.
How did they do?
We won. We beat Illinois State 19-14. First win in Illinois State at Illinois State in like 10 years.
Oh, that's good. Have they
We're
won 3 in a row now?
3 in a row. We're on our way.
3 and
On
2
the
now?
way. Got Missouri State next week, I think. I
Ooh,
think.
former Hilltopper coach Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
That's
There are
how
a lot
most
of
people
jokes.
know him. Yeah.
Is that how
He
most
was he
people know who Bobby Petrino is?
No, he was
I
here for
was
a year.
gonna say.
He was here for a year
Look,
after Willie Taggart left. He led them, to a pretty good record, like 8 and
I
4,
just
I
picture
believe.
him in that presser in the neck brace.
Oh, I think that's how everybody does.
That's the
That's I
only
think
thing
what
I
he's that's
picture.
what he's most known for, but, I mean, he
Yeah,
was
that's the only thing I
a
picture.
very important person in Western Kentucky's football history.
I don't
Surprisingly.
know what I don't know if you're being serious.
No, I totally am.
Oh, okay.
Because they had the early FBS days. They had transition. They had Willie Taggart there as the head coach for 3 years. Had I think back to back 7 and 5 years. His last 2 years there. Willie
Right. I know it
Taggart leads
was
for USF, and
right.
then critical time to keep that momentum going. Bobby Petrino, Arkansas. I'll just say that. And
Arkansas.
then
Right.
he comes in, leads them, I believe, 8 and 4 that season. I believe they were bowl eligible, but they were members of the Sun Belt, and the Sun Belt only had 2 bowl tie-ins, and they did not get one of them. So they didn't make a bowl game. Bowl eligible though. And then
Okay.
he leaves after that, and then Jeff Brom
Man,
comes in, and Jeff Brom
weren't
does what
those
he
the
does here.
days where you had not enough bowls? Now you got so many bowls you don't know how to fill them.
I I love the bowls though.
But yeah, Jeff Brom. Shout out Jeff Brom.
He won a big one.
Purdue,
Beat
yeah, they
Minnesota
won.
this weekend.
Beat
Yeah.
Minnesota. Yeah, yeah.
You know what's really cool about
Um,
Jeff Brom? Jeff Brom was at Western for 3 years as the head coach. Leaves after the 2016 season. Most of the time, you see a guy leave like a G5 or really any position, and they're a head coach somewhere else, and they don't really have anything to do with the old school anymore. You know what I'm saying? He, I've seen him multiple times.
we also
I know
I
I've
can
seen him at Western
yeah.
softball games. I was down in Boca for a men's basketball game this past year, and I'm sitting on the baseline where they have the media set up, and all of a sudden, this guy walks by, and I look over at one of Western's people, and I was like, "Was that Jeff Brom in Florida at a Western men's basketball game?"
I feel like Jerry Kill is one of those for SIU.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, like, we still have, like, the Coach Kill Cancer Fund and stuff like that, and so, like, he still does things with SIU pretty frequently,
It's not a
but
great
yeah,
name for a cancer fund.
it's not.
But I mean, that's cool that they embrace like they can like admit and not be afraid to admit that that's a big part of their life and their career and come
Right,
back and
right.
enjoy it.
I do think I do like that when universities do that. Like, I feel pretty privileged at SIU because the men's coaches that have moved on have been super successful. I mean, you had Matt Painter at Purdue, you had Bruce Weber had success before, and I think that's a cool thing. But yeah, I do see what you're saying. Where college athletics are a job. We've talked about this and stuff like that, and it's nice to see that there is no animosity whenever it comes to things like that. That
Yeah,
like, oh, you're not here anymore. It's not like anti Hilltop or
right.
whatever.
Speaking of former Western coaches, Mike Sanford, did you see that he was promoted to Colorado's interim head coach today?
I did see that on Tom Fornelli's top 25 worst teams in the country, Colorado was 3.
Yeah, they're bad, and they
Yeah.
promoted him to. And he was not a good head coach at Western. They during their FBS years, that's the worst stretch. They lost to Maine. Shout out Black Bears.
Where is the University of Maine? Is it in Bangor?
It's in Orono, which is just outside of Bangor.
Okay. I say that like I
Yep.
know Maine. I literally know Bangor.
Okay, that I mean
Bangor,
Portland,
yeah, what's your capital?
Augusta.
Augusta. That's right.
Yeah.
Augusta.
So, fun fact, I believe I want to say the last time Western Kentucky had like a big pregame concert was before they played Maine back in 2018. That was one of the last big ones at least. They lost that game, but Cage the Elephant was out before the
Shout out
game,
BG.
and you know what's going to happen here in a couple weeks?
I cannot believe I have not brought it up until now. I didn't even talk about this before. I don't know why I haven't talked about it. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was so confused because they announced at halftime of the game on Saturday that before the October 21 game against UAB, DJ Diesel, better known as Shaquille O'Neal, is going to come play a pregame concert. How awesome is that?
Did they say DJ Diesel?
Yeah, well, it was like a video announcement at halftime.
Okay.
I did not know who DJ Diesel was, and they
I
had
was
that
gonna
up there, and
say
then they also had Shaquille O'Neal. So I was like, "Wait,
you
is
thought it was two
DJ
people.
Diesel's?" I was like, "Is DJ? Why is Shaquille O'Neal going to be with DJ Diesel?" And I was like, who is DJ Diesel? Is like, is he a big deal? Like, should I know this? Am I out of touch with the youths?
Yes.
Yes, I am. But then I figured out that's his stage name, and I'm like, this is so random but so awesome.
Speaking of youths, do you know who we have coming to Carbondale next week? Next Wednesday, it's sold out. I'm not going for the record.
Yes, you told me.
Oh,
Someone from The Office
oh no,
or
that was
something.
last week, and I forgot about it. I didn't even
Oh,
go.
oh man.
I
Who was it
know.
from The Office? Was it Stanley?
It, no, it. Why is Stanley the one you go for?
Because
Why of all
he
the characters? Who was there? Was it Stanley? Like, why
he
is
was
Stanley?
he was in Bowling Green not too long ago, like a month ago, for a Hot Rods game. They had like a pretzel night, I think.
It was Kevin
Kevin.
and
Okay,
Oscar.
I feel like that's the same level as Stanley.
I know.
It
I
wouldn't be like
know.
me not guessing Jim, or me not guessing Pam or Dwight or Michael.
I don't. Do you feel like
Oscar,
Pam is on that same
Kevin.
level?
Yeah,
I
yes.
feel like. Do you?
Yeah, I would say so. She's a main character in that show.
I would say it's Michael, Dwight, Jim, tier one. Michael, Dwight, Jim, tier one.
Pam
Is that
is
fair?
Pam is
I
like
don't feel.
3/4 of the storyline. Pam and Jim.
I'll throw her in tier two
Pam is a
with
tier 1 character in that show.
I
She might not be as
I mean, I guess you're right.
you
I
don't
don't
have
think
the funny memories as many with her as you do with the other 3 that you mentioned. But without her, there wouldn't be a show. I feel like
I guess that's true.
a Kevin and Oscar, a Stanley, you could have it with you know who the most underrated character in that show is?
It's Nate, who is my
No.
favorite character.
No, it's Creed.
Oh no, Creed's great. Creed is the best. Creed is the most underrated character, but I feel like everyone knows that.
Yeah, but he can still be the most underrated even though people admit it.
Yeah, like he's the best.
Absolutely.
Like whenever the episode where they're trying to lose weight and Kelly's like, "Yeah, Creed gave me a tapeworm from Mexico." He goes, "That's not a tapeworm." He goes, "That's not a tapeworm." Oh,
Uh, do you see
I
any of the Kentucky game? Because that was a
I
one that we had
I
talked
watched
about for a couple of weeks.
I watched none of it.
None of it. Do you
None
even
of
live in
it.
Kentucky?
Um, can I?
Ever? Did you ever?
I did.
You didn't
I
watch the
did.
Cats?
I did not watch the Cats. I followed along, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they lost 22-19.
Yeah, I saw that.
Really
I heard that.
kinda
I heard that.
missed out on a lot of opportunities. But I think it
Trying to
kinda
think
goes
of
back to that conversation that we've had about them not quite being at that tier where some people want them to be at this point.
I mean, I think that's the downer is does this negate all of that? I don't think it does because they played, from what I gathered, they didn't play great.
No, they didn't.
And so, like, I don't want this to be, oh man, Kentucky's who we thought they are. They're not really good at football. Like, I don't want it to be like that. And I don't think it is, but I would rather them win.
I still think they're a top 20 team. I just don't
Oh,
think they're
yeah.
in that
Yeah.
that top tier, which is kind of that next step for them.
And,
And
tho- and
they
those
don't haven't taken
Michael,
that next step.
if you put Pam in tier one, is Andy in tier two?
Yeah, Andy's got to be tier 2.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know if there's a tier 3. I feel like it's just it'd be like 1A and 1B maybe.
I'm gonna write these down after we're done, and I'll text them to you later. So because that's gonna like it's gonna be in my head now of what to do. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't know. I feel like that was Kentucky's not their shot. I mean, they still have what? They still have Georgia.
Tennessee and Georgia.
Yeah, Tennessee and Georgia left. I mean, you
Believe
beat Tennessee.
Tennessee is at Neyland Stadium
Yeah, I
and
think
Georgia's at home at least.
you have to beat Tennessee now. You have to beat Tennessee.
Yeah, if you want to
Um,
be considered in that group.
yeah, if you want to be
Uh,
considered in that group, you have to beat
and you
Tennessee.
have to have a good showing against Georgia, which I mean, teams have proven they can do. Like, look at
I mean,
Missouri on Saturday.
and but you punt with 4 minutes left, and you're down by four, and you punt, and you give it back to Georgia. I did watch a little of that game. I lied earlier. I did watch. Obviously, I was in St. Louis at a bar, so they had the Mizzou game on. But yeah, I think I'm with you. You beat Tennessee, a good showing against Georgia. You beat Georgia?
Mm, Georgia's pretty good. I mean, they fell
Georgia's
to number
good.
2 though. They fell to
Is
number
Alabama
2.
is Alabama number one?
Yeah, I believe they had 2 more points in the AP poll that came out Sunday.
Oh,
I
Missouri
mean,
Riders
it's
probably put them
it's
below.
they're both at tier 1. They're on that Jim and Pam level. Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Jim and Pam.
From the same tree. Jared, who in this week of so many sports, who is your prize pick of the week?
Man, I've gone back and forth on this for a while. And back and forth and back and forth. Because my week started on Monday. Had the first Lady Tops basketball media
Did
availability.
somebody did does other people's week not start on Monday? like you're special?
I'm not going to assume anybody's start week date,
Have
but
standard work hours? I get it. No, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah. Started with the Lady Tops. I was thinking about Greg Collins for another year. Had Rick Stansberry media talking about the Man Tops. He had a great offseason. Brought in a lot of guys. They could be a top 25 team at some point this year. I might save him for later. I thought about UTEP because of that
Wait,
first win in the Eastern
wait,
Time Zone.
wait. That I'm not even going to touch on it. I can't even do it. We're going to have to start and talk about it next week because we don't. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it. Put a pin in it. Put a pin in
Put
it.
a pin in it.
Yeah.
All right. This one might not be popular in Bowling Green, and that's
Well,
because
oddly enough, what I was going to say wouldn't be popular in Bowling Green too. So go ahead, carry on.
it goes back to Western Kentucky's game on Saturday. And a reminder that the prize pig is a shout out for doing something impressive, or it can be, anything along those lines. It can be anybody. Could be
Yeah.
football. Could be a guy that sells hot dogs on the corner. I would give
I had a good hot
prize.
dog at the game today. Go ahead.
Mine's got to go to Jarrett Dagey. Tough situation. He was in a competition for the starting quarterback job at Western, transferred in like January from West Virginia, went through the spring, summer, first couple weeks of fall camp, got beat out for the starting quarterback job. Ended up transferring to Troy. Troy came to Bowling Green on Saturday. Dagey had been serving as the backup quarterback. Goes in with a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes left in the third quarter. Ends up throwing 2 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. And Troy wins it. It's impressive to do that, and that's why got to give him credit for doing that. That's why I'm picking him.
Why did he come in? Was the other guy get hurt? Was the other guy not getting it done?
Yeah, got hurt.
Okay,
Went down with a few minutes left in the third quarter.
Got it.
So, yeah, I mean,
that's always a fun one when you have that, like, or if you're like a freshman and you're going up against a school who, like, you kind of wanted to go to, but the coach never recruited you. You never thought you were good enough, and then you drop like a double on him. Like, that's always fun. Like, I did it a lot. I can imagine that being fun. I can imagine that being something that athletes are into.
Yeah, the first guy I think of when it comes to that is Chris Lofton, guy out of Mason County High School in Kentucky. Doesn't get recruited by Kentucky. Goes to Tennessee, All-American there, SEC Player of the Year in 2007, and he's going to get his jersey retired this upcoming year. The night they're doing it is when Kentucky goes to Tennessee.
Of course it is.
Yeah, so
those are quick.
Who is your prize pig award winner of the week?
I'm going to give a couple. One is obviously going to go to Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina, just because of today. It was super cool seeing them. One last regular season game at Busch. Obviously, they'll be there later this week for the playoffs. Obviously, because we're back in the playoffs. Well, it's exhausting. And my second is, so you mentioned the Tops women's basketball team had their media availability. Saturday was our first practice for women's basketball at SIU. As I know it's come up on this podcast, that's my job. I am the sports information director. Women's basketball is one of my sports at SIU. So seeing all the work the last couple months, like culminating to the first official practice, everyone being out there, that was cool. So shout out to them. Like, as you know, that college season is a grind, and I know it's gonna be
To
a
get
long
your
one.
basketball juices flowing a little bit.
Yeah,
Like, do you
it
get
was
excited about it? Get
yeah,
excited
man.
about the little
Like,
bit of a cool air, the late nights in the gym.
it is nice. I do like, yeah, and because fall got here super fast because it was
Just like
100 like a week and a half ago.
yeah. And then it just hit. And I was
Yeah.
so looking forward to that fall weather on my motorcycle. Get a gosh darn nail in my tire the other night. So if I could do an opposite of a prize pig, I would like to give it to AAA because they were terrible.
I think a prize pig would be like, I was gonna say a dirty hawk, but I don't like that as much.
We'll have to workshop that. Who do we want to hate next week?
Oh my gosh, we don't have
We
time.
want to recognize someone for good, recognize someone for bad. It would be like the not top tens.
Oh, we could do a not top 10. I think that would be great. I can think of 10 things to hate. That would I don't think would be very difficult
You're
for me.
like you're like the biggest hater I know. So
Yeah, I know. I've heard that a lot. I get that a lot actually. My grandpa calls me that. Whenever he calls me, he calls me a hater. Thanks for joining us
well,
this week, guys.
I was gonna say
Now
we'll
that
have
we
to
know,
save that one for next week.
we can talk about it. Thank you all for joining us this week. Jared, safe travels.